ready
So-
this yet?
Do you literally just went, "Ah, 5th and 6th of August, we're coming in here, and we're not
No,
paying."
it was when you started reading the topics.
I know. Health benefits, it may not be something that you would be interested. Immigration issues, I don't know. But it is interesting,
Brian,
because
what's
of
your
all the
friends?
laws, the laws that.
Me, myself, and I
we
tonight.
have to pay attention to. But just, we'll keep in mind those dates and so on, even if you want to come in for half an hour, just to kind of get an idea.
We'll share the
Yeah.
so that you can see,
Yeah, no, I don't.
together.
Yeah, I don't need that unless you're gonna be a lawyer. You don't wanna be going to law school? No. Not now, you're gonna be a pilot, right? Yeah, pilot, right? What about you, Chris? What do you-
I want to be a teacher.
Oh, really? Good.
Yeah, good.
Brian's like, let me tell you about being a
Yeah, nice, the pilot. You've already done some work, right?
I'm a pilot right now.
No, isn't that nice? Wow.
16. Console at 16.
Yeah. Beautiful, wonderful.
You're braver than I did. When they got to the power on stall, I went, nope. I'm good. Thanks.
I took a couple of lessons and then I didn't follow through. I was just like,
Oh, I just didn't like doing power on stalls. I had to sit on multiple phone books.
yeah.
The problem
It was
is now there aren't any phone books, so I
It
have
was
to
just
bring
like a
my
motorcycle license, you know, you had to go
Yeah.
down.
That's not-
and
I'm
test
not
the
kidding.
motorcycle
I have
license, and
But it'd be great with the little thing between. so
Okay.
Sound effects.
Do we have to,
Record button?
record? the
I'm
video?
already recording.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you very much for.
Or the free stuff.
Yeah, we'll trim it.
Okay. Good evening. With the quorum being present, the meeting will now come to order, and we'll have a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
First one of July. All right, we have Sarah Grace. Here. Mark Hamilton.
Here.
Stephanie Boswell. Here. Lauren Brew. Here. Bonnie Berry.
Yes.
Scott Storms. Here. Sarah Mitchell. Here. Eddie Webanero.
Here.
And our first, Grayson Pandolf. Here. And Mac Guerra.
Thank you. Motion to approve the agendas, the reorganizational one and the regular monthly one as written.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell. Second, Mr. Hamilton, all in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. Okay. This is our reorganizational meeting. And our first thing on the agenda is to appoint Olivia Buskey as district clerk for the 25-26 school year. Have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Graves, second Mrs. Mitchell, all in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. Okay, do we, I forgot now, do we do the oath now or after?
It comes
Later, okay. Okay, the next one is to appoint the superintendent of schools, assistant superintendent for educational services, and school business executive as pro tem district clerks as needed for the 25-26 school year.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second, Mr. Hamilton, all in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. Motion to approve the district clerk consent items, we already did 2A and 2B, so we're good on that one. Okay, and the district clerk now calls for nominations for president of the board of, it says board of election, but it means, board of education for the 25-26 school year.
Any nominations?
I would like to nominate Bonnie Berry for board president.
Second.
Vote. You call it, because
You
I
have
can't.
to.
You have
Oh.
to. You have to do it, I can't.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Congrats.
Thank you. Okay, now, we have vice president. Do you have any nominations for the vice president?
Nominate Sarah Mitchell.
I'll second that. Mr. Hamilton, second. Okay, all in favor? No one opposed, motion carried. Okay, now we take our oath of office.
A large stack of them.
We'll go over to you.
Are we on? Oh, we're taking field trip?
Yep. Yep.
No, just those. Take a view.
I know.
You're okay, thank you.
All right. All of us?
Do we also have for, do we have to do it with the?
Ex officio?
Yeah.
It's not a requirement
Okay.
by NISBA, but we have them.
Oh,
It's like,
so let's do it.
Yeah.
So that you can solemnly
Yours
swear.
are different than how ours reads. So I don't know if they want to do theirs because theirs reads differently than
Okay.
ours.
Okay.
Come on over. You get to join the fun.
Well, we can do ours and they can do theirs.
Yeah.
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 We'll let them read theirs first.
Yours is much longer.
Oh.
oh, okay. Do we read it together? Or
Yeah, you can read it together. It's the same.
say your name, okay.
Well, we have to do you first, right?
Oh, okay.
Right? Just
Yeah.
do it.
Okay.
I'm gonna sit here.
Okay. I, Olivia Bousquet, do solemnly swear or affirm that I support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of District Clerk according to the best of my abilities.
And it goes
And
together.
you-
Yep, I have to sign.
I, Scott Storms, do solemnly swear to affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Superintendent of Schools and pro tem District Clerk according to the best of my abilities.
I, Shannon Pitcher Boyd, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of pro tem district clerk according to the best of my ability.
Yep.
I, Bonnie Berry, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member, board president, according to the best of my ability.
I, Sarah Mitchell, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education according to the best of my ability.
Okay, ladies. Okay. I, Maggie Vera, do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully serve as the ex officio student board member of the Peru Board of Education in accordance with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of New York, the laws of the State of New York, and the policies of Peru Central School District to the best of my ability. I will fairly represent the interests and concerns of my fellow students with integrity, honesty, and dedication. I pledge to uphold the values of our school community, to listen with an open mind, and contribute thoughtfully to discussions. I recognize the importance of my role in advising and informing the board on matters affecting students. I will strive to be a positive role model and leader, setting an example of respect, responsibility, and civic engagement for my peers. I will perform my duties to the best of my abilities, always striving to enhance the educational experience for all.
That's a long one.
Wow,
Well, they have a higher bar than the rest.
You were almost.
Here, how's that this? Now, you have 403, I mean, at least a couple. It doesn't count. True. Don't have those.
I think that's.
Yeah, we don't.
Sarah Graves, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member according to the best of my ability.
I, Lauren Prue, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of board member according to the best of my ability.
I think we have them all, right? Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, for the officers and coordinators, are there any questions, discussion on board? No? Motion to approve appointments for the 25-26 school year. Motion, Mrs. Mitchell.
Second.
Second, Mr. Webanero. All in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. Bonding. Any questions on bonding? A motion to approve the bonding of personnel as follows. So move, Mr. Webanero.
Second.
Second, Mrs. Mitchell. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, no one opposed. Okay, and we have attorneys. We have three. Do we have to do them each separately? No. Okay, so we've got A, B, and C for different occasions with that. Are there any questions or discussion? Okay, then we have a motion to approve attorneys' consent items A, 6A through C.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell. Second, Mrs. Graves. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, no one opposed. Independent audit, any discussion? Appoint Boris and Wood CPAs PC as the district's independent auditor for 25-26 school year. A motion?
You can jump to the bottom.
I could go all three.
Yep.
Oh, yes,
Yep.
we'll go all three. And then we have the internal auditor and then the internal claims auditor. Are there any questions or discussion on any of those?
We, 7B says TBD. Yeah, can we do B if we don't have a person?
We will-
Isn't that,
Yeah, you can skip B.
isn't that, what?
He's retired,
Oh, okay.
so we have to go out and.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So we'll do A, you know,
A and C.
When do we have to do?
I thought, who's Maryland's the internal claims.
We're in the process of putting something down, so that's our hope. We struggled the first time,
Well,
so.
Maryland's the internal claims auditor.
Correct.
Okay, so, I have a motion, for A and C.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second, Mr. Webanero. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried, no one opposed. Okay, here we have the motion to, have any discussion on any of the petty cash and designations here? On 8? Okay, can I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell,
Second.
second, Mr. Hamilton, all in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. I often wonder if petty cash of $25 is enough today. I guess they can ask more afterwards. Okay, 9 other actions. We have, newspaper, mileage rate, credit card plan, scholarship funds, operating funds, health consortium, are there, in our monthly board meetings, this is the only one that will be the first Tuesday of the month. And the extra classroom activities and the co-op agreement, professional development training. Do you have any questions or discussion on that?
Question.
Mm-hmm.
November, was it that we used to have to move when did we have to move the board meetings? October?
It's October. Is that still,
Because it's when they go, when you have training, I think it, isn't it clerk, district clerk training or
We
something?
didn't think that it was going to fall out, but when we talked with Sherry about it, right?
The only one was Veterans Day,
Yes.
the Tuesday.
Okay, so
Where
November.
we have done it before, where we have had a board meeting on Veterans Day.
okay. Do we want a board meeting on Veterans Day? Well, does it make any difference to anybody? Okay. Okay, any other discussion?
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, did you? B with the mileage rate, does it have to be stated that it's 70 cents per mile and the IRS mileage rate? Or can we just say it's, the reimbursement is to coincide with the IRS mileage rate
I thought when it changed that we all had to go back in and vote it in.
But that's because we're voting it at 70 cents.
Right,
If
that's
we
not
don't
what-
do that,
So if we could take out
can we just vote it to be the IRS?
reimbursement, we take out of 70 cents per mile.
Just say
To
coincide with
coincide
IRS.
with the IRS.
Yeah, reimbursement to coincide with the IRS.
Well, cause I know CBS will be also having some years to, you know.
Yeah, and maybe you have to, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I don't know if it's a requirement for it or not.
I'm not sure.
We can do it this way, as it's written,
And then
and
maybe
just,
look it up.
Investigate it.
Do it as written, don't take
for
it out.
now, yeah.
For now.
I'll find
I
out.
don't know.
We can skip it.
Yeah.
But, and I know that we, you know, when it changes, we had to go and re-vote again for the change.
But that's, I mean, Mark brings up a very good point, because if it does,
It
if
will
it
change
saves
every
one
year.
business,
Yeah,
like,
it
oh,
changes every year.
It can change in January,
Yeah, it could change anytime.
so we'll leave it at that and then we'll have to,
I'll investigate.
Yeah, change, see what we
I
can
think we can do that.
Yep.
We can do that in the future.
anything else on that?
On 9A,
Yes.
I think distribution for the rest of everything is down a little bit. And I know that the Sun is another paper area. Have we considered adopting the Sun? I feel like this one probably has a wider distribution than the community.
I was thinking the same thing, I was gonna ask the same question.
Especially as like.
We didn't consider it, I think that this is just what we've always done, but we can definitely do it, no problem.
I just feel like we do, I think we've got kudos for publishing like our announcements of board meetings, but I don't know how wide that's reaching. I think
Okay.
that's Republican.
maybe we could do a survey of the people.
Community.
Yeah, maybe just ask them, hey, quick one question survey to parents where, I mean, that'll get at least to the parents, but we could ask, put it on the website, and the Facebook.
Can we have
Facebook.
two,
And we have two, like, I
so
think
that
we have
things
two.
can go to some, too?
Just have joint.
I would think we'd add the Sun in there because now the Sun has become, you know, distributed to every household.
Right, everyone gets it, yeah, you don't have
Like, I know
to.
for newer notices, you have to do the press and the Sun.
Yes.
The Sun was lying to your workers.
Okay, so can we designate the Press Republic, change A to designate the Press Republican and Sun district's official newspapers?
Sure.
Okay? Any other discussion, questions? Are we, and we're okay on board meetings, you think?
Yes.
Okay, if we have to change them, we can change them. So, we are, motion to approve A through J.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell. Second, Mrs. Gray, all in favor? Aye. No one opposed, motion carried. Employee sub rates. Any discussion? This is going along with the, minimum wage too, so we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to establish the substitute rates for July 1, 25 to December 31, 25. So it's only for the first 6 months because we've got to change these contracting. Okay. Motion?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell?
Second.
Second, Mr. Hamilton, all in favor? No one opposed, motion carried. And now we have, the rates for our 25, 26, particular services provided by Homes and Browns, food service and transportation, when situations like that occur. Are there any questions? Okay, motion to approve the following rates?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell? Second, Mrs. Prue, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. No one opposed. And now, we continue with regular monthly meeting. And, we won't go into executive session unless it's needed later on, right?
We're not talking about the SRO.
Yes, and can we do it right there, just before, when we get to that?
Yeah,
So
we
We can break for executive session.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so now we'll begin the recording of our regular monthly meeting, with the quorum being present, the meeting is called to order at 7:17 tonight, and we, well, 7 o'clock for our reorganizational meeting, and we went, through that, and 7:17, our, regular monthly meeting. So we have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 10th regular monthly meeting as written and or corrected.
Motion.
Motion, you got the two? Any discussion or anything on those? Okay. most of the time it isn't this long, it doesn't take that much time.
I guess just a
Yeah.
question, moving forward, as we do hear from student council every time, will Mason still provide that? or
Yes.
Okay.
No, she will.
So you're wearing two
Yeah,
hats?
yeah. And actually, it's now the ex officio member rather than student council.
Okay.
Because she's
So
the
we
president,
just-
She's
yeah,
in place.
she's the president of the student council. And Maggie's the vice president. And Maggie doesn't have to come unless she wants to listen to all of us. Unless Kristen can't be there. Okay. Anything else? Anything, ladies? No. Okay, superintendent's report.
All right, so we have a couple things to talk about. We'll start with the dirt, I guess, that's the best thing. So we have a public hearing on the district-wide emergency response plan. And we had our meeting already this school year, just to review the process. What is, bear with me. All right, so the district's emergency response plan, the district's emergency response plan, building level response plans are designed to address the various things that happen in our schools. And, the emergency response plan helps, provide a safer education environment for all of our kids. And I think that's really one of the most important parts of this, and we go back and look at those plans every year. It's our responsibility to have a district-wide plan, which is a little bit broader and it doesn't have all the specifics in it because the building plans are much more specific and not published to the community, where the district-wide plan is. So in our process, the Peru Central School District maintains a positive relationship with all of our outside partners. So that's the police, it's the state police, it's the sheriff's office, it's all the different community members that are part of the safety of our school district. So it's certainly not something we do by ourselves. One of the areas that we definitely work very close with all law enforcement, have access to our building at all times to do a sweep of our building when needed. And we're always working alongside with them to be sure that their badges are working. So, just the other day, state trooper, she was coming through just to do a walkthrough of the school and her badge, she says, it's not working. I'm like, let's fix it right now. We do get an upload every year from them, but sometimes the upload, may have error in it. So what we end up doing is having someone in-house go through each number and make sure, and we're actually in the process of doing that right now for safety purposes. We will also work close with Clinton County, the Peru Volunteer Fire Department. As you know, we've had different instances where we've had to have the Peru Volunteer Fire Department here for various reasons. A lot of times you get a phone call and say, hey, we got a boiler problem, you gotta come over. So I've done that too. We've had evacuations, that's part of it. In the past, we've done campus-wide evacuations in the fall of 2018, and we did an active shooter drill in 2019. Last year, we were hoping to do a relocation drill where we actually evacuate the campus. We were unable to do it. We do think we have a date, we're gonna get that on our calendar. We're still working with Plattsburgh State right now to make sure we can hopefully have that opportunity this coming. It's more in the spring, I'm not thinking correctly. But we'll make sure everyone's aware of that. As you know, we're required to do lockdown drills, so we do two of them in the fall semesters, and then we do two in the spring semesters as well. You hear a lot about those from me, and that's a requirement of New York State, and that's part of our process. We definitely, things have changed since we first started doing those drills. I send out messages to families when it starts, but I send information out to teachers in advance so that they're not panicked or that type of thing, but they are using it as a teachable moment for our kids. implementation of security, we're gonna talk a little bit more about that, because that was something that our team, that the group that got together looked at. They wanted to understand a little bit more about the security of the building in regards to having locks at the doors and, having a badge that you know, having to have your ID read and that type of thing when you come in. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Our staff are encouraged to greet someone without a badge, and now we have the sticker that people are required to wear. So if you don't have your sticker on, don't be surprised, someone will actually go up to you, or in your cases, your board manager, people will come up to you and say, hey, how are you? Where are you going? So that's part of our plan too. This is a very thing tonight. Bear with me. So, we also provide supplemental materials every year. We have a red card that staff get, kind of as a, I would say, a cheat sheet to the district-wide plan, because some of the most important things they need to know for phone calls and those types of things is a one-page sheet. And we also emergency planning for our schools and parents that we update in the DIRP every year. And I think most of our communication, as you know, as parents, that those of you who are parents, it comes from Parent Square. Wow, sorry. This is like going crazy on me. Let's see. We follow the state emergency response terms. Those are the same ones we use in our district. The district-wide safety team is members of the Board of Education, teachers, administrators, parents, as well as safety personnel. The purpose is to review our plan annually, and we did that. These are members that were actually there, were able to attend. So Bonnie Kane, Cindy, Marcel, Jamie Cobb, Reagan Finlaw, support staff is Matt LaFave, and then you can see the list of administrators that were there. We did invite a parent, but they weren't able to attend. Some of the areas that we wanted to make sure we updated in our plan, we go through every year and update phone numbers and names and titles that are applicable. So if there's anybody that's changed, we make sure we update those. And then we also added on the form of our plan, which you actually do have a copy of the plan too. It was added there, but 3 and 4 added the associate principals to the chain of command when we actually did it last year. She hadn't been officially appointed yet. So, and then this page 19, one of the most important things is we wanted to give a little bit more of an explanation of the buzzing into the school, and that's what this is really talking about, and how we monitor our school. We also have the swipe cards to get our people into the school, but then also people have to buzz into the school, and then they have to show an ID. And then we scan that ID, and the truth of the matter is we've had a few people that have questioned that, but you don't get to move beyond the office without us. So if you come in and you don't have your ID, or you're like, I'm not scanning my ID, well, then they have to call me, and I'm gonna bring you to wherever you need to go. So it can be a little interesting, but we've only had 1 or 2 people that don't produce an ID. So they have to be with me through the whole block. Wow. My apologies, guys. Page 53, we needed to change the assigning of our devices to our students because for our homebound instruction plan, if you will, and if we were to do remote instruction. So we updated it to what our tech vision committee has put out. So our grade 6 through 12 students will be issued computers, where our grades K through 5 are gonna have their computers in school. So we wanted to just make that update in our plan. We also wanted to understand what the intervention, or the school-based intervention team in the building was. That was a concern. Who were involved with that particular team? So it's a team of teachers, related service providers, reading teachers, school psychologists, counselors, and administrators who talk about strengths and weaknesses of a particular student, and plans and how we can support those students. And sometimes it's behavioral, so it really does go back to this particular plan. And then we also wanted to take a look at our crisis intervention team. We have a crisis intervention tree. We discussed it, but then after I was reviewing this later, we can't really put the crisis intervention tree, all the people and their names here. This is more broad, but this the crisis intervention team runs a diverse group of members passed away, we bring in a different, maybe a little bit different group of people, but we wanted to make sure there was a better explanation of that. So. A draft copy of our plan is available, so we have it for people to review, we'll have it on the website, we'll also have it here in Word docs, and then the final approval will be in 30 days, which will be our next board meeting. And so if you have any questions, or you read something you're like, I don't like that, or that doesn't make sense to me, please give me a call. And then, we also, I was way ahead on this one a few minutes ago, but we do provide a condensed version of this for our staff. And then, with the conclusion of the district response plan, if you have any questions or thoughts? Yes?
A few comments. It mentions our newspaper in like page 69, so we're doing.
We'll have to make an update to that.
Sarah pointed out a few good comments around the,
Like, say page 70 in wiring is listed.
We're gonna take that off.
Oh, okay.
And then like through rescue squad is not separate from the fire department, so it's kind of redundant.
Perfect.
It's not an actual title, it's through.
Okay, so we'll mark those down as things that we'll change in before next week,
And I
or
don't
next
know
month.
if it matters which ambulance responds. Like, obviously, when you guys call, there's more than likely it's not gonna be an ambulance from the fire department, it would be one that's contracted through, so I don't know if it matters. It's not
Okay.
like it's EMT or CVPH when you call, so I don't know if that matters, cause it's not like you call them directly.
I don't think it matters.
I don't either.
I think we call, if we need.
You call
if we call
911.
911, and
It comes.
whoever shows up,
Great.
you're happy they're here. So,
Yes.
thank you for noting those two things, we didn't see those or didn't note them in our committee. So-
And actually, the television stations, Fox puts a lot on, so I wonder if we should add them a number.
Sure, Olivia and I are working right now on, our plan for emergency closures, so, we have an old
Yeah.
version, so we'll compare that to this and make those changes.
CAX and Fox both.
Yeah, we'll do that.
and then just a question on the stickers or badges that guests have to wear.
Yep.
Are they time sensitive? So when I worked at a company, like basically after a day or so, the battery turned bright pink. So that it was like very clear that you were trying to reuse a battery, it's very important.
So they don't, the intent is you're to return it, so we tell you that, so when you, like, if you come to the district office, you've gone to the high school office, they give you a badge, and, the intent is for you to go back to the high school office and return that, and I will take them occasionally if a person's parked by the district office, and I will return it, so that it's scanned back out. So we do that piece of it,
What happens if
So
they
they're more
don't?
like these badges and not like paper placards.
no, it's a sticker. So it's a sticker with your name on it and the date that you came in.
I'm just like, I think it's easy for us to control ingress into the building, because doors are locked, but as far as some leaving,
For sure.
we won't like have this.
So is there any concern, like, if they don't turn it in, is there anything flagged in the system, like, hey, they didn't turn this in, just as a
We
reminder, so the next time
definitely
they come
see
in.
everyone who,
Who signed it.
who didn't sign out.
And we have their IDs, so we know they are.
We don't keep their ID.
Oh, we scan it.
We scan their ID, absolutely. Yep. And it does a background check, if you will, on them, so we have had people that have scanned, and there's a reason why they can't come through the school. So that's part of it as well. But it's a good question, and I will look into that as well in regards to what happens.
And I think it's always good to know who's in the building, suppose there was a fire.
Yeah.
And
So
you
we
got-
definitely take that with us, so
Yeah.
that computer goes, this goes with us when we go outside, so,
That was one of the big things, of making sure we knew who was there, who was going to.
but that's a good point.
It'd be interesting to see how much the cost difference is between regular paper and color
Yeah, I have no
changing
idea.
paper, because.
I mean, we're flush with cash, so.
Right. We can't afford the paint changing when we can only get bullet.
You got a donation in there anyway?
Okay. Any other questions
Sounds
or
like a
thoughts?
good chemistry project.
Appreciate the work of the community, I know this is a big project here.
And that would
We
keep
might
us,
have something.
and that would keep us in compliance.
Yep.
We would be in compliance for the school year with safety concerns. Additionally, I wanted to just talk to you about, you know what, I'm gonna throw it to Shannon, let her talk about professional development, and then I'll be ready for the next part. I'm a little off. So go ahead.
So the middle school, we just finished up the writing the set plan for stand-up for the middle school was identified a few years back. And so at the next board meeting, you'll have a copy of that new set plan, but the big
Just starting.
Just started.
Just starting.
And one of the, I forgot, fire chief or police chief was very pro this. He said, it's making our job a little bit easier now that they're closing the doors and making sure people have staff, you know, the badge. So, interesting. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions for Scott? It'll be interesting to
Yeah,
see with that money.
I'll be in touch.
Mr. Murray?
I won't go over there because no. First of all, on behalf of Peru Association of Teachers, we'd like to welcome Mrs. Peru to the Board of Education. We do look forward to working with you. As we've had a good relationship, I think, over the years with board members, and we'll continue to with our newest board members. So welcome.
Thank you.
I do want to just touch real quick on the DERP. I don't know if it came up in the discussion. One thing we've done over the last couple of years in the secondary building, I don't know if it's occurred in the elementary, so I'm going to ask Mr. Storms if you could look into that. But we've actually created a buddy list for teachers to make sure that all teachers are out of the building. Up until a few years ago, there was no way of accounting for teachers to make sure the adults were out. So the last couple of years, we've created a buddy list in the secondary. So when you were talking about that, it just popped in. I have no idea if they do it in the elementary.
I do believe they have something, but I'll
Do they?
double check.
That's great to hear. I just don't know, and I just figured I'd bring it up real quick. The last thing I do want to bring up is June 13th. June 13th, as some of you know, a lot of the adults came into this building, and it was not in the same shape we left it in on Friday. Several students were able to gain access to the building, and rooms were rearranged, things were flipped. Other fraternity type pranks were done to various faculty and staff throughout the building. And while we know hindsight, we've found out how they gained access. And in talking conversations with Mr. Berry, a brief one with Mr. Storms, looking at the cameras, very hard to determine who actually did what in the building. But I do know that there are a lot of faculty and staff, especially in the high school, that are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very heartbroken, I guess is a good word. That while they understand the senior prank, the level of the senior prank over the last few years has increased tremendously, and it's almost like we gotta one up the class before us, and where we're getting to the point where teachers don't know what they're walking into, if they're gonna walk into some sort of prank that somebody's gonna get hurt. Because this year, we were told there was oil left on the hand railings on the stairs, so somebody puts their hand, and next thing you know, down they go. And I know Mr. Berry did bring in a bunch of the seniors that they knew were in the building and had a stern conversation with them. But I think the teachers are asking, especially in the high school, that if something were to occur like this again next year, that we need to look at harsher consequences so that we can, I don't want to say prevent, but hopefully make them think twice about their choices. And I'm going to ask you, please be leaders next year. Walking the faculty lot is one thing. It creates a little annoyance because you got to find someplace else to park, and everybody winds up parking in the middle school parking lot, and but that's just it. It's an annoyance. But right now, I think after this year, what this year's class did, there are some teachers that are considering very carefully whether they need to call in sick on the day of senior prank, because they're not sure what's going to be waiting for them. So I'm just asking, please keep that in the back of your minds as we move toward next year, and hopefully we don't have to deal with this. Hopefully this year was the worst, and other classes beyond them are moving up will consider their actions. Thank you.
Okay, there are no So, any questions, discussions on those things?
I know I brought up, I don't know if it was the last meeting, the meeting before, about sports vendors such as like lacrosse, for example. How we don't charge anybody to play for crew, but PHS charges the students like $200 to play. Hockey is like $1,400 to play. So I'm just wondering, like, we merge with swimming, we don't charge, lacrosse we don't charge, but yet our students are being charged, and we merge with other students, or other schools.
So, lacrosse and hockey are the ones in the region that do charge, so regionally the others don't charge. And I say that with the exception of Beekman Town. Beekman Town does charge for mergers, so they can charge other sports. That's just not the way it's been. We can definitely look into that if that's something the board wants me to do.
Is the charge because the head coach is from the school that we're merging with? Is that
No.
correct?
It's
Because that's the way it is in hockey.
So that's kind of another topic.
Usually ice too, they have
But-
to run like ice supply.
So does, so does that apply as well then to the girls swim, because I see that we are representing the girls swim team, but we're using the Silicon Valley Central School District
They don't
pool.
charge.
And they don't charge.
They don't charge us, okay.
So there's a lot of that that's not being charged across the region.
Okay.
Hockey's the big one.
Hockey
Hockey's
definitely
very-
is.
And I don't, lacrosse?
Lacrosse, I was told that our students were charged $200, and then I was brought again as the.
We don't, so as a school district, we're not paying for lacrosse. So it may be more of a booster club type of thing like hockey. Because we don't pay for lacrosse.
And I know
We
we have,
don't provide any equipment or anything.
No.
When we originally agreed to lacrosse, that was one of the caveats that the board made, is that if the board post, right, that there would be no, we were gonna allow our students to participate, but we did not have a line item in the budget. And our sports budget was already at that point. It's the same thing with hockey, when we talked about this 5 years ago. Does that sound right, Bonnie? I think you and I were like the only ones here. We've talked about hockey a few times, and where it was a set fee, and then we decided how that was gonna be distributed to make it equitable for every student that was playing hockey, be it girls or boys hockey.
So we take the $11,000 that Peru Central School puts towards hockey, and it's divided amongst the boys and the girls.
Right, there's 18 who play,
And we have per pupil amount, and then depending on
the difference.
you're merging with and how much they're going to charge, that comes out of the boosters. And, for example, Saranac, our families are having to pay more money than the Saranac people are having to pay. And it was brought up that there was concerns associated with the fact that we pay for a coach, an assistant coach for hockey,
boys,
for boys hockey. And, one of the things that I was talking to Jess about today, when Sarah had called me about it, and Bonnie had mentioned to me, I was talking to Jess about it, and I'm like, well, why, when I'm looking at Beekman Town's versus Saranac's bill, which I shared with you, you have a copy of it in front of you, and it's also on your table too.
oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was a lot of questions about Saranac, from families over the last few years, so Kara had reached out and said, we need an itemized bill, because the concern is why are we paying for, they're talking about in the Saranac, their coaches are $11,000, but what they're really talking about is their two coaches. They're not talking about the one
That
we
we provide.
pay as well, so, I think that's a concern, and then when you look at Beekman Town,
those costs are coming into the merger. And then we're sharing a portion of those costs, but they're not sharing a portion of our coaches' cost. And we're now paying for, so they have 3 coaches, and we're paying 100% of one coaching salary. And then per pupil, so we have 16, they have 14, 12. So we're paying 14/26 of the cost of the other 2 coaches.
So I do
So
think,
they're not picking up any of that.
and after you and I spoke, I also wanna say, and I will reach out to Javier and have a conversation with him, but I do think that, I mean, he may be like, oh yeah, that makes sense, and let's just switch that, but they may also say that our coaches are paid more money than your coaches are, and, we already have taken that out into consideration. But I will look into that, and I will have a conversation with them.
My concern was, and I brought it, I just didn't feel that it was necessarily equitable. It doesn't seem fair that if we're paying it, or they're paying us taxpayers for one, and now they have the additional cost on top
Oh,
of it. That,
absolutely.
I don't think that that's honestly fair.
Is that what in the attachment with the additional merger, third page, looks like a bill that
At the per student.
Beekman Town paid to Peru?
That's correct.
Cause like, it just seems like if we're putting up a coach and it costs us 3,000 whatever. Sure.
That should be
Put
part of
that
it.
into that invoice and kick us back that amount.
Right, or show us that in the Saranac, you know what I mean, like, that's what we need to see, and I'll talk to him about that. I'd like to see, when you say coaches 11,525, well, that, where are we talking about?
There or not.
You know, I mean, where are you,
But
Many is-
what's included in that
Correct.
11,000?
and I'll have a conversation.
Well, and even if our coach is included in that cost, it's still being divided over it, and we're still paying for it, because we as a district are paying it, so that's not a direct cost to Saranac.
That should be.
So it should be-
Exactly, it should have been deducted if it's included in it, or it should be deducted regardless.
Well, my
Equal
question
in
is-
assistant coach is what we pay. One assistant, we might pay 3,000, they may pay 4,500 for assistant coach. So when you juggle that up, then it balances.
Well,
Right.
the coaches just needs to have a more detailed
There's
explanation.
gotta
Because if
be
there's
more
more-
information.
I
you know.
If there's 2 coaches there, and that's the cost of that, we're still paying for it, so the cost of the program as a whole is $3,800 more than that, and that needs to be accounted for, because we're still expending that money. If they're accounting for it, where's that $3,800 credit back,
yeah.
or whatever it is,
Yeah.
to our students, if the district's already covering that cost?
Right.
That's all I'm asking, is that I agree that I don't, at first glance or second glance, it doesn't seem that way. And it's not fair, because the people that are picking it up are people who have students in the district. Yes, they understand that they're covering the cost difference of the district, and they're not asking for the district for any more money. They're just trying to make sure that it's being equally divided between the people that are playing it.
And when
I
they
would
do,
like more.
when they do something with hockey booster, the Balance Duke and Saranac hockey booster, is that only our Peru parents who are paying that
No.
11,000? Or is it everybody?
They all the booster goes, and all that booster goes to the pot.
Okay, so it's Saranac parents and.
Right.
Not as much though, I heard, not as much Saranac, it's mainly Peru.
They're doing the
Well, it
fundraising.
depends on how active in any group you have X amount of parents that are
Well, tonight, actually,
participating.
Catlins' mom was very active and now he graduates, so let's see how it will be.
Right, there's.
But whatever the
every
booster
year
club
there's-
isn't, but the parents are paying, my understanding is the parents are paying into the booster club, and the booster club's cutting a check, or they're paying for that, they are.
Well, they
there's
do a
like-
lot of fundraising, they have a golf tournament every year, a bottle drive every year, and there's a third one, I can't remember. But there's 3
They
big
do the
ones
squares.
a year. They do squares for
Not
some.
squares.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, either
Or
way,
else
all I'm
that-
asking is that if we can get more information to make
Right.
sure that the costs are equitable,
Well,
cause if you're,
and-
and if we're paying for something
Who pays
twice,
Who
that's
pays
not
for the
fair.
equipment? They do,
Yes, they do.
they pay for everything.
Well, they got supplies, yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
but that's
right.
what I'm saying, we
Yeah.
don't add to.
I would assume that the
supplies.
booster club would
We
pay for it.
pay that.
We're paying
that
the rent
particular
for the
case.
ice, you know, we're.
And official
adding-
fees,
Mhm.
and the officials.
Yeah, oh, well, everybody.
I think
pays.
611 per student.
But I heard as their coaches, they coach, every year they get like a raise, you know, kind of like a step, where our coaches kind of like flat, like fees how we say how it is. But I was told the longer the coach coaches, like the more they make.
Yeah, that doesn't happen in Peru.
Right,
Doesn't
that's the
happen
Saranac.
for-
And then I also heard 2, I believe, student hockey players did not pay for this past year to play.
They don't play next year then, they don't.
Well, they're
they
seniors,
can't-
so they're like, you know. So where's the
or $3,329.25.
And if it's not accounted for, then please account for that and recalculate the amount for each student, because we are as a district paying that out,
Mhm.
and it shouldn't be double billed on top of somebody else, that's all I'm asking.
And we're not against the merger.
No, it's
No,
not that.
we're against the finances.
Just how it's done.
And then, just to follow up on Lauren, you'd sent an email, and so at each one of the mergers, I went through each one of them after you sent that, just if there were any additional questions you had about each merger. So, for example, like modified lacrosse, this is the one that I had talked to the group about.
Yes.
And we'll revisit this in a year, because this is an example where we only have one student that's gonna be playing, where you can see the number of students that will be playing on that merger itself. It's actually, if you click on any one of the mergers, you'll actually determine is it an important merger and who it is, so that's just one example. We also have, boys varsity lacrosse, where many more students, we have more of our students that are doing varsity lacrosse, even though we hold modified, they hold varsity. We don't have very many kids in modified, there's many more kids in, so it's kind of a give and take kind of a situation. And then I also looked at like modified varsity football, and so we have NAC and SEAM that join us, and you can see from that there's 5 students that are merging with us from
Where
SEAM.
did you, I'm sorry, I don't know where you're seeing that we're getting the 5 from seat.
We don't know. It's NAC and
It's
C.
NAC and SEAM.
Right, but so I guess that was where my question came from, because by the numbers that I saw, to me it looked, or I thought, that these were the amount of students we have enrolled in each of these. And so that's where I thought that was
The
a
second
low number,
page on that, you
Okay.
can see where this was what we were last year
right?
with the merger, and this is what we are this year with the merger, so we have 1 9th grader, and 2 11th graders, and 2 12th graders.
Merging to our
Merging
team.
to our team, and
Okay.
our team consists of approximately, because we aren't done
Right.
recruiting, but 22 students.
That was more my question.
Yeah.
At first I thought,
Yeah.
well, that seems weird that we're going to host, let's say gymnastics, but we have 1
Yeah.
student.
But it was one from another district. When, maybe just adding something on, the ones that are Peru,
Mhm.
that if we could just know on those mergers,
Even
how
if it's
many of our
estimate,
students,
right.
yeah, how many of our students,
Approximately at the
Yeah.
time, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
okay?
Or even, yeah, if it's like a 7th last
So
year.
for
7th
example, volleyball, that you had just
It's a big
mentioned,
team.
this coming year, we have 1 10th grader, coming to us, and we have 22 students signed up right
I couldn't figure out if that was a 0 or an 8.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
we're
we have
working on it.
why are we that?
We'll work on that too, so you can make sure when we see anything for you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so we're good? Are there any other questions? Comments? I think just straightening out some of the finances, the biggest ones are the hockey.
I'll
Hockey is
report.
the only one we have a,
I'll report back on hockey next time.
okay, good.
So can we hold that one out of the consent?
I think
please?
we still want the merger. We just need to know the finances.
I'm asking.
Okay, we still want the merger, correct?
Yeah.
We want the merger.
I would
So
say
now
so.
we're just having Scott go back on finances.
We're going to the state.
We're not gonna say no, even if,
I'm just asking, if there's
Yeah.
other schools, if we're getting charged $800 and something from Beekman, do we merge with Beekman to create that less of a burden?
that's a girls.
I understand that, but
But
I'm just saying,
otherwise-
if
Or merge with Plattsburgh.
Yeah, like, can we shop around?
Right, right.
I mean, I don't wanna take the kids away from the team that they're playing with, but I'm just asking that it would be interesting for the sake of information, for information's sake, to know. Cause if they're doing mergers with other schools, what are those schools paying those host schools? So is this in line, are we asking too much of our parents if there are other options? I'm not trying to tank a team, I'm not on hockey.
So ask Wall Sable what they pay Plattsburgh, because I know
Yeah.
Sable merges with Plattsburgh.
Or something to that effect, does that make sense, is that reasonable?
Absolutely.
When is, pardon my ignorance, when is the hockey season?
It's winter, so it starts in like October.
So we have a good one.
So,
we have time.
Yeah.
I just wanna know, cause if it's something that's, if we're
So
asking
do
our
we
parents.
pull the hockey
mergers? I would like to motion, to pull the hockey merger and table it till more information is available, and then we can vote on it in October, when we bring it back up under old business, is that? Or, I'm sorry, August. I apologize.
I thought October was a little late.
That's my fault.
You need to know what's in there.
We were thinking November, I was thinking October, I meant August. Please
August.
let me amend that to August. It's another vowel. I would like to buy a vowel.
Okay, so when we're looking at, our new business, and we are looking at, sorry about that. D, sports
It's been a
mergers.
really long day.
So when we make the motion, we are going to,
Is that
all except for the, on D, remove hockey until further information is given. Boys hockey, girls hockey,
Girls were you okay with?
We're not being charged to say it's okay.
No, we're not being, there's not the same burden placed being.
and we
placed
don't
on
have a coach
parents.
that we're paying.
Exactly, so there's not, whatever the costs are that they're saying the program is, that's probably, there's no confusion, because we don't provide anything for that.
And hockey has been,
All of the mergers minus boys hockey.
Yes,
That's what
please.
we're approving.
so the motion will be to, approve
So you probably have to pull D out, right, so you accept,
A through K,
the exception of D.
with the exception of D, and then we'll vote on D individually. So do I have a motion, for A through K? Exception. So, Mr. Webanero, second. Second, Mrs. Graves, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now, as we look at D, 7D, we are going to have a motion to approve, all the mergers except for the boys hockey to, gather more financial information to make
So
a,
table that until the August meeting.
yes,
Yes, please.
motion on,
Motion.
motion Mrs. Mitchell, second Mrs. Graves, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carried.
That might be interesting to wait, because the hockey arena that they train out of, that they pay their daily practice, is newly owned as of a few months ago. Fees could go really sky high, or they could lower. Plattsburgh plays out of the college, pays way more than Saranac does. Eatontown plays out of Shazy, pays way more, way less than Plattsburgh. I don't know where AC North in the realm of things, but there's only three areas, because we wouldn't go all the way up to Northeastern Glenn. And they have their own arena, so there's only the three, we wouldn't go to Saranac Lake. So you really only have three schools we're looking at, Eatontown, Saranac, and Plattsburgh. So
It's just, it's worth the due diligence for
that's
families
it,
and our
to see
taxpayers,
what
just to get
the
the information.
charges are for schools and what they're each paying, because that makes a difference in what the whole school charges you. Because you think how many hours, they have at least 2 hours, 5 days a week, that's 10 hours a week of ice time, and I think ice time's around $300 an hour.
I just wanna make it clear, I'm not trying to force
we
a
know.
switch to the merger, I
No.
just think we need information, and
Right.
without the information, it's not fair to make a decision that affects other people.
Well, and if we weren't paying for a coach, that
That would be
even
different.
listed, it would be different.
Correct.
Okay, when did we start paying for the coach? Is that recent?
No,
Oh, that's been forever, okay.
it's been since right after the couple of years, I don't think you were superintendent, were you yet?
No, I don't think so.
So I'm thinking like way back to COVID time
Okay.
before.
And they didn't have an assistant.
I
They
don't
had
know.
had a coach, and we brought in the
We
assistant.
brought in the
Well,
coach.
there
I
were
believe,
some, there were
I
some,
think.
there were some issues, we had a lot of students, right? There was issues, and that
Yes.
coaching staff had since changed, so those
Yes.
issues had been resolved.
Yes.
But that was part of the impetus for the district to provide
Yeah.
somebody there to not only help, because the program needed help, but to
Yes.
be there for our students, to have their contact. person.
Particularly when it.
Because we have had such a large,
The number of students that we had in the program doubled it.
Yeah, we have more than 50% right now.
Yeah.
We're over, and those are numbers that we've been providing pretty steadily.
Okay. Okay, so now on to 8, personnel. Any discussion, questions? We are removing G and H. Okay, I have a motion to approve A through J. No, yeah, F, A through F.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell?
Second.
Second, Mr. Webanero, all in favor?
Aye.
No one opposed, motion carried. Okay. On 9A. Yep. And then we have B, our policies. We had a question on that electronic device, Rebecca. There's a question about BOCES, I believe.
I think it was just changing the wording, wasn't it?
I thought they were allowed to bring, right?
Yeah, they are,
So,
they are.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was like, what are you talking about?
No, you're fine. I moved.
No, so I did speak to all the schools in the area to find out what are we doing on the trip to, BOCES, and everyone is going to allow their students to have them on the bus
They should.
as they would when they leave the district
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Okay.
So we just removed that BOCES language or whatever.
I believe you did, didn't you?
Yep, that's what I'm saying, I think that's the only change I noticed is the removal of
Yeah,
that.
you removed it, okay? Any other questions?
I actually would just, if you could clarify on paragraph 3, I believe it talked about, administrators and staff may also restrict use of electronic devices during school events and activities held outside of school day or off school grounds. Is that referring to field trip specifically? Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll vote on each of these policies separately, so. Motion to accept policy 5695.
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell.
Second.
Second, Mr. Webanero. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Just a quick comment, I really appreciate the advocacy around this policy, because I know it was rushed from a state requirement, but you did it really.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
There's nothing to acknowledge, but it's
And we weren't that, forgiving on language.
I don't know if the student perspective, everything that happened.
They're so noisy, I mean, it's the law.
It is,
There's so many things to say.
well, and I think next year we'll have pouches too, right? Pouches will be in there.
As well, that's part of our,
So that somebody,
not the pouches like people, not electronic pouches, just a pencil case type of thing to put them in that.
so
Maybe we
they
should put a magnet in the back and just stick to the wall, put it in the door.
erase all the memory.
Do we know how much our school's getting? Like, is each school getting a certain amount of the $3.5 million?
We're waiting to hear. There's a lot of talk about it, but I mean, there's not a lot of talk about it, so we haven't heard yet. I'm not sure.
State haven't said, here, check.
And the pouches, I think we're looking at are like $1 or $2.
I was gonna say.
No, they're not expensive.
Raising
It's
our
just-
hand, do you have any, like, do you know that we're going into this for part of the pilot? Do you have anything to say about the pilot and
I
how it
think
went?
pouches will probably be good, because I feel like toward the end of the year when the policy was put into place, like some people still follow it, like they have it on them. So I think the use of that pouch would be, then they'll get hacked.
Or sneaking into, because the cell phone's right there next to the book you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's in the pouch, you gotta open the pouch and do it instead of,
Mhm.
it'll take away that 2 minute
cafeteria again, and like all these good things are coming out of it. Hopefully, we saw at the last board meeting, and just ways to celebrate success around it. Hope the community appreciates.
Yeah, it was interesting. Somebody brought in a turntable, and the turntable was out in the hallway with,
Did you guys see that?
No.
No?
yeah.
They were sitting out in front of the high school office the first day, and then Billy Joel, on a record player kind of a thing.
But the day that you and I went, that, they were happy.
Yeah, they were happy.
They were
We thought they were
like,
gonna join in on that happy moment, but we
They're like,
didn't.
yeah, and whose phone?
They had a lot to
Gave
say.
us these phones, the adults gave them to us. We're like,
You know, that's one of the.
You just wanted to
things,
enjoy
that's right.
control.
The adults gave it to, we're the generation that came up with, it was given to us.
And when we know better, we do better, right?
But it's not like we had any, it's not like you had any kind of notification before that, because it wasn't a thing.
A lot of information out there that really, any pieces of some of the principals that have done it, the schools that have done it, so it's amazing the difference in the students, lack of distractions. It'll be interesting to see. Okay, policy 6640, and this is just on inventories. Are there any questions or discussion on that? Okay, motion to conduct this is the second reading on this. No, we're all good. Yeah, this is our second reading.
Yep.
Okay, motion to adopt. Okay, Mrs. Mitchell, second. Mr. Hamilton, all in favor? Aye. Okay. Motion carried, no opposed. And now, the academic calendar. There's some changes in that?
Well, there may be.
Maybe.
Send those out via parents.
So we're still working with, BAT.
Good. Okay.
And we were in the conversations of how do we, one of the areas I talked about was some of the pieces of negotiation I don't wanna get into right now. However, there may be a change, for the first day for teachers, so we're looking into that and trying to figure out how we'll go about that, making sure that it's published to our families. And then the other thing is, one of the areas I think that we have to be really mindful of is the end of the school year. So Shannon and I did a lot of digging into the number of hours students need to be in school. And our school district is one of the ones that has some of the tightest hours in the North Country in regards to the elementary school. So elementary students, in elementary, we remember, goes all the way through sixth grade, even though it's in a secondary building. Elementary students have to go to school 900 hours in a school year, and middle school, which is seventh grade, and eighth grade, as well as the high school, have to go 990. And
So how many?
990 hours.
The regions days count
Right,
as full days.
so we're always really pretty good with high school, middle school age, and we're always very, very, very tight, with, our elementary school. So a regulation has changed with the 990 and the 900, which allows you, in the past, you weren't allowed to have half days, more than a certain number of half days in a week. And that was part of the previous regulation before 990, and that was still, debated whether you needed to keep that or not. But it's very clear now that as long as you're hitting your 900 or your 990, it doesn't matter how many half days you have. So we were able, as you can see, to come up with half days at the end of the school year. And I understand that was an inconvenience for families, absolutely. But I do think that we have to be super mindful of the building and, how hot it ends up getting. That being said, we have, the best laid plans of, air conditioning in certain spots. I think that we will probably have to look into in the future, putting air conditioning in larger spots, like, for example, the Cracker Box or the gymnasiums or things like that, where you might be able to put the roof. I don't see financially where our district is ever going to be a place where you're going to be able to put the unless there's some major incentive for air conditioning. The elementary school is $30 million to put air conditioning in. So that being said, what I'd like to propose is changing the district calendar so that the last 2 days of school are, half days. So we had a half day already scheduled for the last day of school for this current school year. I'd like to add another one, because we have to recognize that we have to be mindful that if we were in school we certainly don't have to only go to school for they certainly don't recommend that you only go to school for 900, we'd like you to go more. But we would be okay if we added 4. But my concern is in the event that I needed to send kids home, we don't do that very often, but if I needed to, for whatever reason, in the middle of the school year, I'd have 2 to play with, if need be.
Is there any way we can just do early, years ago, we used to do early release, you know? The kids would, elementary, the kids would go home at 1:30, 2 o'clock.
Well, we can,
Still calculates in that, so.
so we could definitely look at, maintaining those 2 days as half days and then other days in that week as possible, you know, an hour release or something like that, or a 2-hour release, something of that nature.
So can I ask a weird question? Sorry, go ahead.
I just, I wanna clarify, so the intention is that those 2 half days at the end of the year would give us extra time that we could borrow for later in June? Or is
No.
the assumption that those last 2 days would be the highest days we would be able to?
I'm going with the idea that we've always been that last week of school as our hottest days. I mean, it's hard to, you know, I think that our families want to have it on a calendar, because I did get quite a bit of feedback that they were very concerned that, you know, I was inconveniencing many people by doing what I did.
I appreciate the need, I guess like, I mean, if we look at this past, it was Monday and Tuesday were hot days, and then we had 3 more days in class, right? So having given them Thursday and Friday half days would not have helped us this year. So in my mind, I don't wanna do a $30 million figure, but as far as like days go, I'd like to treat them all like snow days, right? Like we don't know when this is gonna happen, but we are pretty sure it's gonna happen. And being able to declare an emergency day of, based on the weather forecast, and we should actually know more in advance than we do with snowstorms.
Well, you wouldn't be able to use them as an emergency day as a full day, that's the problem. Like, because the way Regents exams happen and contracts happen, like, we would have been in a contractual problem if we were to close on either one of those 2 days, that it was considerably hot. Now, you make a good point, that you could save all of them, and I can do that, I can save all and just leave it.
As half days,
And-
you mean?
leave
No.
them off,
Off the 4 days.
leave them all off
The
the
emergency
calendar.
days that we don't use, we cash it in.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's 5 days.
Just save them as you see the weather.
You can't save those emergency days. I don't see how our contracts would allow us to do an emergency day. Like, if I didn't say, all right, during Labor Day, you're gonna get one of the snow days, we're gonna keep that for the end, because Regents exams never, they don't stop, right?
They
So,
don't use
so I would have an issue there. Now, our buildings were cooler in the morning. They were definitely cooler in the morning.
That was my question.
So, they were.
No, what I was gonna say is, what if we, don't hate me everybody, but we've talked about learning and how students learn, and that younger students learn better in the morning, so is it potential, because, thank you, yes, but wouldn't it be advantageous, at least when we're not busing the same amount of students because of Regency, could we, with the weather coming, move the start time? I don't know how disruptive that would that be an option, because then we're starting earlier in the day while it's cooler, which would then give us more educational or instructional hours that we could utilize.
I think that you make a great point. I think it's probably time. I've done, and since I've been here for my whole career, we've done it 3 times since I've been here. And I can remember, having conversations of flipping. Maybe it's time to go back and have the conversation. I don't think that changes the district calendar.
No, but I'm
for
just
this.
wondering if that would help, because you're talking about if we're that close on minutes, and let's say we use all of our emergency days because we have a snowstorm, an ice storm, which are very potentially possible.
Sure.
So if this week, like he said, Monday and Tuesday, but
You
if we're
wouldn't be able
starting.
to, you wouldn't be able to change the hours on
That's
that
what I'm
final
asking.
week.
No.
But you could have a conversation about changing the hours.
I was just thinking
The
I'd
start
rather be
time
working,
of
the
I
whole
would
year.
come in earlier if I knew.
But I think we would have to spend a whole year.
Right, I was just
To
thinking
plan
that if I was working and I'm like, look, you'd have to come in earlier, but it'll be 5 degrees or 10 degrees cooler, the building hasn't been cooking for an extra 2. That was my thought, I mean, obviously it would have to be.
We tried.
I'm just talking, even if it's just this one
What's that?
week.
They would like a later start.
I think,
I feel like most kids, like, if you think about it as a whole, like, I don't mind going in earlier, get out earlier, like, I like it that way, but if you look at it as a whole, I feel like the older kids like to sleep in a little longer, so I feel like they'd be more
younger kids would be better if they started early.
Sure, if they're sitting there watching
Cause they're getting
whatever,
much.
you know, or playing on their phones,
The
you know, from
data-
6 o'clock in the morning
The
until 8
data
o'clock.
is supporting exactly what she said, that younger students do better in the morning.
Of course.
And it'll be cooler for them, and they're the
Yeah.
ones that are actually in the buildings.
We did a whole study on that, I was part of the committee, and we really did wanna do that. Gosh, I don't know, what, 7 years ago, Chris Mazzola was here.
It was longer.
I wanna say-
During Dr. Brimstein's time, he
Yes.
was here for
That
Vision
was nice.
2020.
Yes,
Cindy
that-
Mills was sitting.
And we really wanted to do a whole switch, and we got resistance from the community, but you know what? NCCS did it years ago. All they did was they turned around and they switched.
They just did it, they
Yeah.
just changed the time,
Yeah.
and that was it.
I guess,
But if it improves student outcome,
I
that
think
is
that-
what we
you
have to
maybe
do
that's
the
something we
whole
have to look
thing
at.
Rather than just for a day.
Like attendance purposes, because I know this year with the prizes presented, it kind of helped, but I feel like that would help even more students being like, oh, I can sleep in longer instead of having to get up at 5:30, I can get up at 7:30. So I feel like that would also help improve.
So it does sound like,
They
It does.
sleep in.
it does sound like the board is talking about
Yeah, let's-
possibly another committee.
And let's do a switch.
An
Yep.
investigation.
Sorry, I didn't mean, I know it's has nothing to do with graphic academic, but I was just thinking for that week when it's really hot, it would give you another option, even if it were just like a temporarily, like an MOA or something, just to,
Sure.
if it gets to that point again, it's just another way to be able to get that minimum amount of hours.
And
Or
then,
the minimum amount of minutes without being in
And you can
violation
still
of state
figure
law.
out the app.
Right, that could be,
You know,
it could be like a cell
NCCS did,
phone trial.
NCCS did.
Well, we did a cell phone trial.
so,
Actually, that's a really good point.
What, Mac?
Like NCCS, I know all their sports practices are in the morning before school, and they open up and they fix all their showers so the kids can like come in, shower, and then go to school. But the only problem is I've heard from some of my friends at NCCS is, I don't know if it's a location problem, when they go to sports, like they come to crew, they get out of school so much earlier. Like when I go to track or when to tie, I miss my last two
Right.
periods, and
Yes.
that's where I am like accountable to make out, which
Yeah.
I have no problem doing, but some kids might,
Yeah.
and then I don't know how that will go.
Yeah, so I guess that would be a concern.
That's a good, you know, really, start the sports practices early in the morning, again, when it's cooler.
Yeah.
Like when it's cooler,
It's a
I
good
feel
way
like
to wake up
sometimes,
too,
yeah, I
actually,
was gonna say,
wake
it's a
up.
good way to wake up.
But I
we
don't know if
definitely
they
can,
did that.
make that
Yeah.
Yeah.
district's initiative over this
Yeah.
year to look at. My question is, do you feel the best thing to do is to leave those half days and just leave them as like we did this year?
Go like that, if you see where, like, so if you were to hold the emergency days, how would that help? Cause you said you can't do the final week of regions, you couldn't give them.
Because you have to,
But their
emergency
regions
goes to every building.
don't even think about high school, because the regions, their days count. You don't,
What about not doing the half days throughout the year to save them all for the last week? Maybe just 5 half days.
We have
Well,
enough time and we need.
We have enough time to do it, we can do days, my concern comes down to the fact that I think the only thing that we have up our sleeve right now that we can do, because you can only have 4 superintendent's days, which are the full days off, with the exception of an emergency day, but an emergency day takes away from what's contractually, the teachers are contractually obligated to be here. So, and if I have to have the teachers here to administer a Regents exam, then we have a problem, right? So my thought process is, the best we can do at this point is to reduce by half days.
Right.
And, you know, whatever that is, you know.
And you can't use an emergency day and like split it up, right? It's like turn this day into a half day.
No.
No, we schedule them as full contractual days, so that's the issue, so teachers work currently 180 days, and then we add another 5 days that they're contractually obligated to, but those are the snow days, you know what I mean, those are the emergency days.
which could be heat.
Right.
Which absolutely could be heat in the event, what would end up happening
Use
with
them
that
in the
though?
winter first, you know.
I think what would end up happening though, and I say this and maybe I shouldn't, but I do think that our school would be in session, our high school people or whoever, they'd still
They
have
have
to
to, because of
come.
the regions.
Yeah, they
And
don't
then we'd
have
have a contractual, we would have a contractual issue,
Yeah.
and then we'd probably, there would be.
Regions,
impact.
we do
all over it. The bus.
It was
Yeah, they
crazy.
moved it all over. So
Can we
it's,
just don't even schedule a Thursday after school day?
we can just hold them all.
Because
And mix
what
it
if we
in.
don't need it?
Yeah.
We could leave the last one, which we've been doing for the last few years anyway.
Which one is, you're talking
The
about?
very last day of school would be a half day.
Yeah,
Which was
26.
scheduled this year.
Yep.
That way, and then the other ones, we would just hold at bay, and if we need them, we use them, if we don't need them, we go to school.
Another thing that came up to me today is because this is a change in the calendar, and the calendar was out before, was the August 28th.
So the August 28th.
It was not on the calendar as a.
It's not.
Right.
And the August 28th has not been fully negotiated at this point, so, it's.
Because some people, when they had the calendar out, and when we had the calendar out before, and August 28th was a summer,
Correct.
vacation day, people made arrangements for, yeah, for vacations and so on.
Sure, so this right here though, which, we'll address that as a union, I can explain more to you in executive session if you
Okay.
want to go in and have a conversation about the, other contracts,
Okay.
okay?
Because I think that could be an issue, because the calendar went out before, and that was a day off, and now it's out there as a day superintendent's conference.
Do we have to approve the calendar tonight?
You do not, you've already approved a calendar.
It's out there.
And the current calendar
out
that you have out there does not have the 28th on it.
Right.
The calendar that you approved also has a half day at the last day of school, so.
26th.
Right now, our calendar is fine. And we can move forward with the calendar, but it will be the year of the calendar, right? It'll be the year of the change of the calendar, unfortunately.
It might get stuck in parents'
We can
wear.
approve it next month if we
Of course
want
we
to.
could. Yep,
So
yep, yep,
I would,
yep.
I would suggest we
I
table it
don't,
until we.
and I can
close
explain
these
more,
last two items.
I can explain more to you in executive session on that.
Okay, so, we have a motion to table, we'll have to table, D, academic calendar, right?
Motion.
Motion, Mrs. Mitchell?
All right.
Second, Mrs. Russell Davies? Motion to approve tabling academic calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion, no one opposed, motion carried. Okay, new business. Policy 8410. Student transportation, that was really just one of those that we really had to run down.
Does this,
Be
We're gonna have to
perfectly
change it again next month because they kicked it back today.
What's that?
The state, they keep kicking back,
Our
not
policies.
enough.
Okay, so
what they
we're,
want.
so do we not touch 8410 then? All right, we gotta wait, so let's just take
Make
A right out, right?
Yeah, have all the.
We won't even have a motion to table, we just need more information on it. Okay,
Or we miss it.
yep, B, board retreat.
Okay, so, gotta try to get some dates from you, and then I'm gonna reach out to school boards. So I've got some dates, and I'm gonna try to get as many dates that yes could possibly work, and I'm really flexible in time. Whatever time works for you, I don't care. I can do it during the day, I know there's people that work, I can do it at night, whatever you wanted to do. So some of the dates, so I've got a chart here that Olivia and I are gonna try to keep track of who is available. So like, on the 23rd of July,
It's Wednesday.
thank you. And the 24th of July, we had in the past done 4 to 8. So those are two dates right now that if you could, and I'm not saying that it is either one of those, what I'd have to do is reach out to school board and get some dates to say these would be, and see if they can.
Are they all in
accommodate.
July?
what was the
No,
second one?
they're not all.
23rd?
The 23rd, the 24th, and the 29th.
I can do either of those three.
I can do it if you.
I can be late on the 23rd, I can be late on the 24th, and I can be late on the 29th.
23rd, 24th, and 29th.
Yeah.
Oh,
Four to- four to eight.
Yep.
Thank you.
4 to 8.
I could do late on the 23rd, 24th, I'm kinda out, the 29th, I'm wide open.
The 24th, you're open? Is that what you said?
No.
Thank you.
During the day on the 24th, I'm open.
Lauren, you said you're okay for all of them?
All of them so far, yeah.
Sarah Graves?
I'm okay for all.
I can't do the 23rd.
We'd probably have you like come for an hour.
Okay.
We wouldn't keep you here 4 days.
Sarah, what did you say you were?
We feed,
So,
we do feed.
and-
All three of them so far, I'd be late. I have to teach until 4:30 on the Wednesday, so I don't have anybody else that can teach.
Let's do
Thursday I
it
work until
again.
4:45, and they do on that Tuesday.
So, the 30th of July, the, 13th of August, and the 18th of August, the 20th of August, so,
I'm sorry, what were the
sorry.
August dates again?
The August dates are the 13th, the 18th, and the 20th.
Wait, so 30th, I can do.
How about we just raise hands?
I'm off the 18th.
If you can do the 30th, could you?
30th of
raise your-
July?
Of July.
No, I can't do any of the August dates, I'm in Vermont. So we're raising your hand for the 30th
If
of
the
July.
30th, if you can do it.
What we do is we have you come in right away in the beginning and feed.
If you are available
Sarah?
on the.
What did you have yours do?
30, yes.
The 8th, or the 13th of August, if you can, raise your hand.
I have a planning board meeting, but I can skip it.
Oh.
That's why I can't come, because Ally's gonna be.
Okay.
I got it. I'll have to make it. It'll be,
The
it'll be fine.
18th of August,
Okay. Yeah, well, I'd be late, but I can do it late. So I'll give you a half one.
Monday.
so that one doesn't look like it's gonna work. How about the 20th of August?
That's fine. I'm wide open those slots.
What time?
4 to 8, or, okay.
I mean, if that's like the only day that we.
I can't do, I'm working in Vermont, all those August dates. So August is out, so August is completely out for me, sorry. But July dates, I'm open.
So it looks like the 24th is a possibility,
July 24th was okay?
and the 29th look pretty open.
The 29th and 30th are like, I'm wide open those days, those are the best days for me.
So I will reach out to them and see what.
I'm sorry, July 29th.
You cannot,
And we could have them come up for one time with us and then we could work on our other things that we do individually, huh?
You said the 29th, you can't, no?
None of those are weekend days. So they're not, I don't know if that works for well. Like CBS decided 2 years ago to put theirs on a Saturday for me as well. And I did not go.
Yeah, 50% chance that we will.
Yeah, I typically not on these, I recommend,
Never mind.
sorry.
Scratch
Mark's
from the-
like, I'm not kidding.
I, weekends are fine, especially early. I could be here like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Good.
4 to 8, there you go.
4 to 8.
That's good.
I'm in.
So were you looking at doing evening versus during the day? I know
Yeah,
last year
this
we did
is
during the
evening.
day, the year before we did the evening.
No, this is
Yeah.
evenings,
This
so
was-
they,
We did during the day last year, you're right.
We did do during the day last year.
Is there a day that would work for people better?
Give you the very few, if you're looking for July days, I can give you like 4 that I want, might be available during the day personally. August for me is better during the day personally, because you got a 50% chance.
Well, August is out totally.
Sorry.
Can't do it without Steph.
It's all about me, Sarah.
So
It's all about.
I love that you're more indispensable than I am, I appreciate that.
And I don't even play Thursday night, usually 9 o'clock sometimes, I work a lot.
I'm always surprised, Pete, that's all right.
So July, it was July 23,
Are you
24,
looking at the same
29.
days and asking if
what
you're
about
available
July
today?
30th, was there someone? A lot of hands went up on the 30th, that's why I.
I can't be here.
Oh,
You can't be the 30th?
And Mark, you can't be on the 23rd either, correct?
I might be able to change. Yeah, I might be able to move stuff.
Change the 23rd
I
maybe?
can't change the 30th.
Alright, I will call tomorrow and see if I can get something on the 23rd and I'll let you know.
Okay, well, the 23rd will be, I will absolutely be like, there's nobody I can teach. I don't have anybody available, but the other days, if that's what you choose, I could try to put in, but the schedule's already posted for work and try to get like an hour off, which is what I.
Eddie, you can't be here on the 24th, correct? It looks like the most everyone could do the 23rd.
them, and, you know, we do them one day, and then we can follow up with other things like we just discussed about switching the schedule and things like that.
I will look at, if that's the day, just let me know, and I will look at my, as soon as you know, and I will try to work my teaching schedule.
Yep.
Maybe I can convince the students that they want to work this month.
Okay,
And
so we've got all,
Well, we get to
You
get
got
that.
that? Okay.
Okay.
now, we need a discussion in executive session on the SRO agreement. So,
Motion to move into executive session.
second.
all in favor? And we don't go into executive session or anything, and when we come back out, we're done. So, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, ladies, for coming tonight.
Oh,
We appreciate it.
Oh, we were Shannon. For those.
It's great. And we are not
Right,
usually
back in here.
this long, right? Well, Grace usually is able to leave.
But we have to come back
It's only
afterwards
an hour and a half.
and
We
reconvene
started
to do
at
business
five.
on that.
Recently?
Okay.
Started at 7.
We started, yeah, it's not, but we had the,
Alright.
That was only 7.
Okay.
You gotta keep
Yeah,
track.
I
When we go in and out of session.
You can take it if you want. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just leaving everything here, so we come back out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. Now you come back out.
Yep.
Oh, this is why we don't like the chairs.
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, night, Earl.
Did give my email regarding that?
No, nobody's here. I don't care. There's nobody here. Everybody in this room.
My kids are.
And the,
I'll tell you that.
I can't even report.
I'll reach out to you tomorrow. Okay, I'll be around.